Welcome back to MediaScience Myth Busting. I'm your host, Philip Lomax, joined by the world-famous Dr. Dwayne Varan. On today's episode, we're going to be discussing the myth that picture-in-picture ads are less effective than full-screen video ads. So, Dr. Varan, how did picture-in-picture ads come to be?
Well, at the time, ABC, so we used to be the Disney Lab. So at the time, we were the Disney Lab. And ABC was one of the Disney-owned entities, one of the networks. And they had sold a lot of their inventory. They were very successful. And so the question really for them was, well, we're not going to be able to get any more inventory. Can we create more inventory by somehow going into the program? So this idea about using a picture-in-picture ad kind of like was floated as a possibility. And the first space to test that was in Good Morning America. Now, at the time, Good Morning America had this segment where there was the weather, and there was a crawl that occurred. And in the crawl, you actually saw this, for 30 seconds, this list of all these cities, and you had to wait until your city kind of came up. And so even though it was there for 30 seconds, you would really only be looking at it for a few seconds for your particular city. And so the idea was, what if you ran a picture-in-picture ad that ran in conjunction with that weather crawl? So that was the possibility. And there was a lot of concern about that. It wasn't an easy proposition, because the news people were up in arms. They were like, no, this is going to destroy our credibility. We're not going to have any credibility anymore. We've got ads inside the content and stuff. So there was some resistance to the possibility.
So, Dr. Varan, obviously ABC and Good Morning America tapped on MediaScience to determine the viability of this brand new, never seen before product. What did you find?
Yeah, so first, if it did hurt news, it wasn't viable. So the first thing that we had to do was we had to work out, okay, is this product viable at all? And so we had to really kind of like test to see if it did harm to the news. And the good news there is it did absolutely no harm to news. So it was viable. Now the question was, what was its advertising value? And the ad sales people really thought, we'd be doing well if we got like 20% of the value of a normal ad. I mean, the assumption really was that this was going to be massively inferior to a normal, full-size screen TV ad. And so that was the question. What's the value? Is it 50%? Is it 20%? How much more do we have to discount this product to bring it to market? And we did the study, and the results were really quite surprising, actually. So I'd like to share the screen to share with you some of the results that we had here. So we measured it a lot of different ways. Basically we had two ad exposures, or we had this picture-in-picture ad plus a normal ad exposure. The reason we did it that way is our assumption was that it might have this kind of like priming effect, if you will, to help reinforce the value of that second ad exposure. And that's exactly what we found. So if we look at the galvanic skin response, we saw it was significantly higher. If we looked at the unaided recall, we also saw it was higher. But here was the real twist. Not only was this a superior proposition, but when we looked at the people who were normally ad avoiders, the people who showed the greatest resistance to ads, this was even stronger in terms of what the effect had on them. So this was not only a superior model, it was even a superior model among ad avoiders. And so this was really clear and conclusive proof that the format worked. And that far from offering it at a discount, instead of offering it 20 or 50% the price of a normal ad, they actually went to market with it as a premium product, which cost more than a traditional ad. And so ABC made a fortune by introducing this new format.
Wow, what an incredible time to be at Disney. So your study indicated that audiences had a stronger level of response. It could create better memory structures, and we could reach more difficult to reach audiences. So naturally, you've discovered a brand new tool within your arsenal. So what did you guys do next?
Yeah, so again, at the time, since we were the Disney Lab, we had this group that met once a month that was called the Lab Rats, and this was the heads of all the different Disney business, the business leaders, the business research leaders. And so we would get together regularly and we would share the results from all of our studies. And so Artie and the team at ESPN looked at this and thought, wow, this is a great format. This would work really well for sports. And so the first sport that we tested it on was NASCAR. And so suddenly we did these studies that looked to see, do ads inside, picture-in-picture ads inside NASCAR, do those work more effectively than traditional ad breaks?
And it makes so much sense as well, because within NASCAR, as well as Formula One, there aren't any timeouts.
That's right, exactly. And so when you think about what's happening with, NASCAR, it's a frustrating experience for the viewer because they go to the ad break and they actually miss part of the race. It was an interesting research question as well, because the thing is that, with Good Morning America, it was a weather crawl, right? And there was literally, other than your city crawling up there really was not a lot that was happening for the rest of the time. But with NASCAR, there was a lot of action. So would it still work in terms of delivering the superior effect when there was so much that was happening, if you will, on the other screen? And the results were yes, absolutely they did. They kept viewers more engaged during the ad break, and so that actually translated to the superior ad impact.
Wow, what an incredible application of media science, right? Measuring the value of new ad formats and products never before seen, and then applying them across genres as well with an incredible portfolio. What were some of the other applications that you studied?
Yeah, so that the concept that happened with NASCAR, you were actually making the ad break better. So where with Good Morning America, you were creating new inventory, and there were applications in sports where we were creating new inventory, but with NASCAR, you were making the ad break better. And so that then led the ABC people to think, well, what can we do to make our ad break better? And so what they came up with was a really powerful idea. Again, these are all things that have since become conventions. Remember, we're talking 2009. This was a long time ago. And so what they did is they used Dancing with the Stars. And so when the ad break came on, there was a wrap around the ad. So again, the ad kind of went picture in picture, and there was a wrap around where you had backstage content as they were preparing for the next production.
Very cool.
Very cool, because what you're doing is you're amplifying the transfer of the program content into the ad break. So whatever that transfer effect is, you're actually now getting even more of that transfer by having this little content. And that's become a format that we see from time to time, even today. And so, and in all these ways, what you were seeing, another great application, by the way, was in traditional games, like in football games, there was the end of the game, and SportsCenter would not start until the top of the hour, the top of the half hour.
That's right, because we don't know when a game ends.
Because unfortunately, those players, they don't know how. They haven't learned how to end the game at exactly the right time for the TV network. No, that's right. So there would be this period of time. And, for a while, that's kind of exciting. You cover some of the highlights, but it would get old after a while, right? So the question was, what could ESPN do to maximize the retention of viewers going into SportsCenter? And we experimented with a lot of different ideas, one of which was the picture-in-picture ad. And again, surprisingly, it was really powerful in retaining the viewer, and it actually resulted in our data in higher retention going into SportsCenter. And so when ESPN actually did it, that's exactly what happened with the ratings. The viewer retention was higher. Now, this is the gift that keeps on giving, because not only were you getting this, this incredible value that you were able to monetize, you were also getting the retention of the viewers going in. So you were winning on both fronts. You were getting more viewers going into SportsCenter, and you were making money along the way by being able to sell that ad inventory.
I love these case study examples because they highlight the value proposition of research in the marketplace. You come to research when you see products that you've never seen before, and you use research to determine the value of these experiences. And then you can determine how you might apply these new products across your portfolio and determine what the nuances of these products are to achieve best practices. And then finally, this is another amazing example of taking research from a controlled environment and seeing that it works in the real world. So we've accomplished a lot within just today's episode. So, Dr. Varan, the myth that picture-in-picture ads are less effective than full-screen video ads because they're smaller. What say you?
Busted.
Busted. Well, until next time, I'm Philip Lomax. This is Dr. Dwayne Varan, and thank you, our audience.